Boa noite a todos. Muito obrigada por nos acompanharem nessa sexta-feira à noite, esse penúltimo dia de IELTS Week. E vamos encerrar esse quinto dia com um tema incrível. O tema é se o ensino é verde o suficiente? Atividades climáticas para sua aula de inglês, apresentado pela nossa colega do British Council, Hala Ahmed. A Hala mora no Cairo e lidera os programas de desenvolvimento profissional de professores de inglês no British Council do Cairo. Com mais de 11 anos de British Council, ela já foi professora, instrutora e mentora de professores e também gerente acadêmica de vários programas de inglês, incluindo projetos nacionais e regionais para apoiar refugiados no acesso ao ensino superior, para desenvolver a capacidade de professores, para implementar o programa English for Interfaith Dialogue, que fortalece redes de professores e comunidades de prática na região do Oriente Médio e Norte da África. Ela também já foi palestrante várias vezes em conferências internacionais, como a IATEFL, NIL TESOL e TESOL Arábia. E hoje ela vai falar um pouquinho para a gente desse assunto tão importante sobre sustentabilidade. Bem-vinda, Hala.
Hi everyone, my name is Hala Ahmed. I'm head of English and School Education at the British Council. I'm from Egypt and I'm very happy to be part of the ELT Week Brazil this year. My presentation is about the idea of green teaching, during which I'll be sharing a number of practical classroom activities and strategies related to climate and environmental care. So let's get started. Let's start off by explaining what the problem is in very simple terms. The world temperature is getting higher and higher. In 2020, the world's temperature got 1 degree warmer. It has now been confirmed that the global warming exceeded 1.5 degrees during 2023. So, what does that mean? If nothing is done, scientists think global warming could exceed 4 degrees in the future, and this would lead to devastating heat waves, millions losing their homes to rising sea levels, and the irreversible loss of plant and animal species. Let's continue talking about the impact of climate change while exploring some vocabulary. So the impact of climate change can include some of these problems you can see on the screen. Can you guess any of them? Yes, you guessed right. Desertification. So for example, in East Africa, or this area of the world, has witnessed the 5th season of failed rains, putting around 22 million people at risk of severe hunger. Can you guess the other one? Yes, wildfires. An example, in France and Germany, the land burnt is 7 times more than it used to be in the last decade. How about this one? Yes, flooding. There were historical floods in China, Pakistan, and Nigeria. And the last one? Okay, it's extinction, that's correct. And you need to know that 550 species will be lost, including polar bears and elephant. In 2021, the British Council globally surveyed 1,887 teachers from 196 countries. So let's look together at the survey results. You can see that 87% of the teachers who took the survey believed that ELT teachers have a significant role to play in climate change education. 67% of teachers unfortunately said that their institution did not provide training and support for teachers wishing to integrate climate change content into teaching practice. 80% of teachers said they would like some professional development on how to incorporate climate change issues into their classes. We also surveyed young people between 13 and 18 years old. I think we surveyed 2,500 young people. And let's look at these two results from the survey. 76% of the young people who took the survey wanted more climate change related activities and discussions in their schools, and 72% wanted more climate change related topics, particularly in their English lessons. Many might think that teachers can't play a role in raising awareness about climate change because this is a purely scientific topic and it's probably the job of scientists or environmentalists. But that's not true. Teachers do play a role in facilitating learning about climate and raise awareness about climate change, and they can encourage actions. They don't have all the answers, of course, because they aren't climate specialists. So, what can teachers do? Let's explore together some ideas for the teachers to use in the classroom. I want you now to look at the screen and tell me, do you have polar bears in your country? Do your students usually see polar bears? In Egypt, where I come from, there are no polar bears, so it would be hard for my students to relate to any activities about saving polar bears. Instead, try to localize this concept and get them to talk about a problem in their local communities to relate to. Replace save polar bears with save the trees, for example, or stop cutting the trees. Another classroom activity is to use real objects or realia. One suggestion is to get your students to grow a plant in a planting lesson where you explain the steps and the vocabulary, and the students bring their planting tools and seeds to the class. Another idea is to show off your recycled bottle of water to students and encourage them to recycle and avoid using disposable plastics. You can even go a bit creative with them and encourage them to recycle items that they don't want anymore into artwork. Or even be poetic and write a poem about caring about the environment and doing no harm to the animals. Now let's look at some tips for planning a lesson on climate. Here are some key principles for you to bear in mind when planning lessons on climate. So, keep the target language. You don't change your basic teaching methods. So focus on the target language, you just add an environmental angle or environmental twist. Do the context transfer, which means you change the original context you're introducing your target language through to an environmental context. So let's say you're teaching a lesson about transport, holidays, technology, etc., etc. So you change the context from transport to how do we care about the environment through the context of transport, or how can we, raise awareness about climate change through the context of holidays or technology and so on. Always have a clear language focus. So for example, try to give them a lesson about how to write a letter of complaint. But again, put this in the context of environmental care and climate change. So imagine tell the students to imagine they're writing a letter of complaint to the mayor of the town, for example, complaining about, the town policy, which affects the environment and which, increase the climate change and so on. And always make it personal. Remember that the example on the polar bears. If they don't know the polar bears, make it personal to them. Make it something they know. Use pictures. This is a simple picture I drew to illustrate different means of transport. After that, I asked students which one they used to go to school and to rank them from the slowest to the fastest, for example. Then I took it from there and I transferred the context from transport to how we can look after the environment when we use means of transport. Another key principle is to gradually go from concrete examples to explain an unfamiliar abstract idea. Food pyramid is a good example. First, show them the food pyramid they know and elicit responses from them on food they usually eat at different times of the day. Ask them what their favorite food is. Leave them with the idea that the more we eat food at the pyramid bottom, the healthier we are, and vice versa. Then show them the pyramid upside down with an environmental twist this time. Tell them if we consume more food from the pyramid tip, it's not only bad for our health, but also for our environment. Finally, make climate activities easier to understand and more appealing by making them more fun. Many students are put off when we talk about climate because the topic is depressing a little bit. So take a fresh perspective to that and design fun activities. So for example, eco-friendly party, put them in groups, give them time to discuss if they're going to throw an eco-friendly party. What are the rules? What things they will bring? What activities they will do in the party? Or ask them to design a podcast on cycling. And podcast is so popular these days. Everybody likes podcasts. Also, tell them to design a poster, maybe, on tips on making your lifestyle green or greener. Or they can design in pairs or in small groups the green questionnaire, and they go around the class or even go around the school and ask everybody how green their lifestyle is. Or they can even draw a map to the nearby parks where they can go and spend their leisure time, but with the least harm to the environment. This is the end of my presentation. I hope you found it useful. I'm happy now to take your questions.
Boa noite a todos, muito obrigada por nos acompanhar por mais um dia. Eu espero que vocês tenham gostado da sessão. Foi mais uma com várias ideias de atividades que vocês podem usar com os alunos de vocês, principalmente para tratar de um tema que é tão importante, tão atual. Eu vou deixar também registrado o nosso muito obrigada para a Hala, mas ela não pôde estar conosco para responder as perguntas pela diferença de fuso horário. Então, se vocês quiserem deixar alguma pergunta, alguma mensagem, vou pedir para vocês usarem o chat. Então, estamos finalizando agora a nossa semana e eu vou pedir para todo mundo que está assistindo não perder o final da IELTS Week amanhã de manhã, a partir das 9, e vai estar imperdível com o nosso mini curso de liderança para equipes de gestão escolar, que vai falar de escolas e salas de aula inclusivas. Então, se preparem para encerrar com chave de ouro todos os aprendizados, todos os insights dessa nossa semana incrível. Uma boa noite, um bom fim de semana para todos. Vejo vocês amanhã.